We've been keeping up with the MAGA civil war, I guess you could call it, right-wing infighting that really centers around right now the post-assassination of Charlie Kirk and the, I guess, disagreements about how that should be handled. You have the two major sides forming, which is sort of the Turning Point USA, which aligns with like the Trump administration and believes law enforcement and believes Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. Then you have the Candace Owens, which I guess kind of Tucker Carlson just voiced some support for her, but he's a little bit more in the middle on that. And a bunch of her followers, which are on there's this huge conspiracy, which I already did an hour segment breaking down all that. I'm not going to rehash it all, but it's a wide-ranging, changing every day theory as to what really happened. And it's gotten so deep that now Erika Kirk, who at the beginning Candace was saying, I'll only stop this investigation if Erika Kirk asks me to. Now they're kind of turning against one another. I thought they were friends. Obviously, Candace was good friends with Charlie, but now it's like Erika Kirk for the first time is out there publicly calling out Candace Owens, and Candace Owens is now finally publicly calling out Erika Kirk. It's getting very messy. And obviously, as always, my caveat before I show you this clip is that this is a very sensitive subject given what it connects to. But now it's just turning into a big food fight between a lot of these different public figures. And so if ever you pick up on lighthearted energy, it's about the food fight, not the very sensitive and tragic subject that this connects to. And we are just observers of what's the mayhem that's going on the right now. So here's Erika Kirk for the first time that I've seen really getting heated about, she doesn't say Candace Owens' name, but she's talking about Candace Owens and then other people who support her and are saying the official narrative is not the correct one, which is one thing to say, but I should specify it goes much further than that, connecting like a bunch of different foreign governments and the US government and Turning Point and Macron's and all of it. Just it's all connected somehow. And then you'll see Erika Kirk responding here. And now she's the leader of Turning Point USA. So it's like an interesting split position of both being the grieving widow, but then also being having to be the spokesperson for Turning Point. So like it's fair for people to levy criticism against Turning Point, the organization. But now she's at the top of it, so that adds a lot of complications, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit.
Talk to me about this part of the conspiracies that are out there, this disturbing part that people are trying to guess where Charlie is.
Can I have one thing? Can I have one thing? Can my children have one thing? Everything was public. We will be building the most beautiful memorial for my husband at Turning Point USA, and it will be for the world to see, and it will be spectacular, and it will have basically museum style for our Charlie, for my Charlie. But can I have one thing? Can my babies have one thing where we hold it sacred, where my husband is laid to rest, where I don't have to be worried about some secular revolutionary coming and destroying my husband's grave while my daughter is sitting there praying? One thing. This is my husband. Yes, he was Charlie Kirk to the world, and I know so many people love my husband, and I am grateful for that, but this is my husband, and I want to be able to have one thing left that is sacred to our family, to my in-laws, to my babies, and to my parents. One thing.
What are they taking from you right now?
Nothing. But I will tell you what they are doing. It reminds me so much of chapter 6 in the book of Nehemiah. He is building a wall, and the townspeople are at the base of that hill saying, Nehemiah, calling him all these names, saying all these things, come on down. Every single time he had the same message 4 times in a row. I cannot come down. I am busy building. That is how I feel. I do not have time to address the noise. My silence does not mean that I am complacent. My silence does not mean that somehow Turning Point USA and all of the hand-picked staff that loved my husband and my husband loved them is somehow in on it. We are busy building. And you know what I thought? I thought these people are human. We are all grieving in our own way. And they are trying to find the answer to something that happened that was so evil. They are trying so hard. And I get that. We're doing the same. Anytime we hear a lead or anytime we hear anything, we send it to the authorities. Please dig into this. No rock will be unturned. I want justice for my husband, for myself, for my family, more than anyone else out there. So for me, you want to keep telling me to come down while we're building? I don't have time for that. But here's my breaking point on that. Come after me, call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want, go down that rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this, no.
You know, I have to say it. I've never seen you like this.
No, this is righteous anger because this is not okay. It's not healthy. This is a mind virus. Yes, I believe in our judicial system. I do. We have a hell of a team working on this. Excuse my French.
Don't say French. Why did she say French? The French, France, Macron, Brigitte's penis. Did she say penis? Brigitte. France, French, excuse. My friend, France, excuse. She's excusing France for being connected to this. It's food for thought, okay? No, it is wild to say excuse my French when you said hell of. Hell of a. Excuse my French, hella. Now, here's the... Let me play a Candace kind of reacting to that, not directly, but speaking about Erika Kirk. And as you can tell from my mockery, so much of what Candace has been doing has been just sort of conspiracy slop. She does make here a point that has more validity to it than a lot of her other points, which is it does cause a tricky situation. That doesn't justify throwing out any theory you want whenever you want and then having people go after people. But it does complicate things a little bit when your husband gets murdered and then you immediately step into leading the organization that has to figure out how to move on after. Because then you're leading, like Turning Point is this highly political, disagrees with this is separate because of my political ideology, but I'm opposed to their political project. And so now if we're just like day to day, we talked about that Samantha Fulnecki story and Turning Point was getting involved to say she was wronged and like she wasn't. And so then we, to criticize Turning Point, which is fair, the leader of Turning Point now is Erika Kirk, who is understandably grieving, but it's difficult to have the sensitivity for someone who's grieving that you would have if they also immediately step into a leadership position that is very open normally to criticism when you're leading a big organization. So that's kind of what is said here. That doesn't then justify just making up random BS.
The mistake they made, and I've said on my podcast, she should never become the CEO and chairman overnight. Because now, when people have questions, you got to answer them, right? You're not just a grieving widow, which there has to be respectability for and space and allowing her to be a mother. But you very quickly decided that you were equipped to be Charlie. Well, guess what? That's going to be a trial by fire. Okay, Charlie had to go through it. It's painful. The public's going to go through every layer of your life. They're going to and so it's people go. It's not fair. You can't do what we call the post-school shooting thing, which is like a school shooting is such a tragic event, and then suddenly they're like, you have to listen to David Hogg, and you can't question David Hogg. It's like, but I gotta.
Okay, well, the first half of what you said made sense, which is Erika Kirk immediately took over Turning Point. Well, now that definitely adds to it a layer of difficulty because you're going to end up getting criticized for whatever you're doing in your leadership position. And the response can't be grieving widow if you're also stepping into a big leadership position, as much as people understand the grieving part of it. But then she brings up David Hogg. You can't question Yeah, you can. What? That's so. Just because David Hogg, after he survived a school shooting, wants to go out and advocate for the beliefs he believed would prevent a future school shooting, doesn't mean that people are saying you can't question him. But that's what she's connecting it to, I guess.
Questions for David Hogg, right? If you're now going to say that I have to accept him as a political leader, I'm sorry if a tragedy happened to you, it's fair for me to say, David Hogg, I have, why are you on CNN? And I think that's happening. And so people are feeling like, hey, it's not fair to ask her any questions because her husband just died. Okay, but they should have put in place an interim CEO. Like, that's what any company would do. You would just say, for a couple of months, we got to figure things out. The COO is going to become the CEO and give.
Yeah, so that part's fine. That I agree with. That it probably would have been healthier for her to step away with her family, let someone else run Turning Point for a while so that it can continue doing political things that people are allowed to criticize and can levy questions and all that. Actual questions, not assertions that you cloak as questions, Candace, but not merging the human family impact with an organization that's still going to keep churning along as a political operation that has plenty of people who are reasonably opposed to it or during the investigation, etc. But then normally, so that happens a lot, right? You hear her make a standalone point. You're like, okay, fine. But then if, as I've tried to, you go watch some of the coverage that she's doing, it's like, my gosh, just getting a lot of people to forget how facts are supposed to substantiate conclusions that you come to. And it's not just free-balling associations pinning different things to a bulletin board and coming up with some big mythical situation where everyone in the whole world was involved in the assassination and it was all connected somehow and it was the military was involved. So that point standalone, actually I agree with. Probably would have been healthier to step away to allow her and her family to grieve. And then if she were to come back, that would be in a new time, as opposed to you're running the organization. Even just how it ends up moving forward post this assassination will have a lot of people criticizing. And if you're at the top, then you're going to answer for those criticisms. And if the response is, hey, whoa, 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 because of it was your family, people will then get more spiraling because of that. Even if I do understand with the Candace specific case, with all the theories she's connected to this, in some cases it does make sense to be like, hey, whoa, we loved him. In their cases, we loved him, and why would you say this about us, connecting us to his assassination, stuff like that? That makes sense. But the broader point, I think, is a fine one. And then you have the Turning Point USA. Who's this guy, Tyler Boyer, saying this?
Here's what I will tell you, that there are good people working on this. Mm-hmm. And I think there's an assumption or a feeling or a belief that that Charlie's closest friends, his closest colleagues, they don't care about justice or they're not asking questions. It's like, we are. We have been. And we want justice more than anybody else. I can guarantee you that. As much as you want it, I can guarantee I want it more. Mm-hmm. And there are conversations that happen behind doors. We are suggesting new things to look at. I have questions about who knew what when. Were there other people involved that knew certain things before? There seems to be indication of that. I want to see those questions answered. I want to know, was somebody radicalizing these people? Was somebody radicalizing Tyler Robinson? I want to know all of this stuff. I have questions. I am open to a whole flurry of things. What I'm not open to is a theory that Tyler Robinson didn't kill Charlie. Who else was involved? Sure, I can talk about that. Was there other voices in a row? But I'm not open to that because guess what? The evidence of that case is incredibly watertight. And I would like for us to...
Watertight? I haven't heard that phrase before. Airtight. Wait. Wait, isn't airtight the phrase? Is watertight less tight than airtight? Sorry, I'm being ridiculous. But can I just say something? Can I say something? I was talking with someone, and I really have love in my heart even for people that I oppose deeply politically. That's just the way we roll here. And if you don't, bye-bye. Wait, that's not a loving thing to say. No, I love you too. And I really do think that a lot of Erika's rage there makes sense given what we've seen from Candace's show. What doesn't make sense to me is, this is just a question I'm asking to the Turning Point world and to MAGA. Don't you now understand that maybe the message of that Charlie and Erika and Turning Point all kind of perpetuated of women shouldn't be in leadership positions and women should just be in the home, and that's like conversations that Charlie and Erika have had publicly, that probably that's not, that you were wrong about that, because now Erika is like taking over the biggest political organization in youth politics. I've been a little bit confused about no one mentioning that. Wait, why were they both saying all the time that women should not do anything like what Erika's doing now? But then no one's bringing that up now. Not because they should have that stance, but because maybe her assuming this role and you not being outraged about it should demonstrate to you that was not the correct principle. Because there's just all of this content of Charlie saying, and Erika agrees with this, of where the correct role of a woman is. And it wasn't this. And so I say this with love, all of this conversation is happening in the aftermath of a horrific event. But I think it's fair to point out, doesn't the aftermath of this demonstrate a deep contradiction in the ideology that the Kirks have espoused? And that maybe watching them feel like she is the correct person to run Kirk's organization demonstrates they were wrong about that. And maybe that some of the followers of Turning Point or formerly Kirk could rethink that now that this is how it's being structured. Does that make sense? Like I've seen so many clips of them talking about essentially Erika shouldn't be allowed to do what she's now doing, or she at least shouldn't. That's not her obligation. But now that it is her, they're no longer levying that. But they levied it about women constantly. So anyways, just a thought coming from a place of love. Then you have Tim Pool in this clip kind of cosplaying as Candace Owens and trying to flip it back around and ask Candace Owens questions. So it's like she's always asking everyone questions. Now he's saying he's going to ask her questions. It's all getting very complicated. Please do click the subscribe button if you appreciate this show. So many people are unsubscribed who watch regularly. We love you either way, but I do appreciate if you click that button and help get the word out.
A bunch of emails. Shocking revelations. And I've gotten people coming to me and talking about what she really does. And I want answers. I want answers. Who's she working for? Who is Candace Owens working for? Don't you think it's a little weird that YouTube is putting her on the front page, recommending her show to everyone, where she says the moon landing wasn't real? I thought YouTube banned conspiracy channels. What's going on? Don't you think it's just a little weird that her own lawyers work in the same building as the feds? That doesn't make sense. Why would Candace hire lawyers who work in a federal building or who work in an office building with feds, I should say? It's a little weird, isn't it? I'm just asking questions.
So the bit he's doing there is funny, and also he annoys me all the time. It's like, yeah, yes, that's good. I've done the same joke about Candace to make fun of her, but man, he's just annoying all the time. Something about Tim Pool just always irks me. He could be out there saying Trump is a terrible president and we should have voted for Kamala. And he'd still find a way to say it in a way that would bother me. It's weird. It's really strange. But yeah, we get the bit. And then you have, I guess, Candace questioning if Tim Pool was faking acts of violence at his property. Oh no. So this is getting so messy. But you're messy Bessies. So you have I guess the other day, someone shot at Tim Pool's property. And then that caused Candace to dig up that in December of 2022, Tim had said there was a shooting at his property. And in that case, Tim says it was intruders came in like to rob, and then staff members at Tim Pool's company shot at them with their guns in West Virginia. And that then Candace is claiming that maybe it didn't happen the way that Tim is saying. Tim is saying, you redonkulous.
There's an article that came out recently talking about how Candace Owens says she left the cult of science, which explains why she doesn't act.
I forgot about that. The cult of science.
Actually vet anything she says, which I believe would show a reckless disregard for the truth, if you know what I'm implying there.
Defamation.
Well, she put out a tweet last night, and we're going to break down the claims she's making, as well as Cam Higbee, who actually called the proper sheriff department and confirmed there was indeed a shooting at our property. Now, these people who follow Candace just want to believe. They don't care what's true, and no amount of evidence will change their mind. Hence, when some random guy calls the wrong police station and they say, I have no idea what you're talking about, he goes, aha! And then all of his followers are like, well, that proves it. When Cam Higbee then gets on the phone and they're like, yeah, this actually happened, we can confirm this, they go, I don't believe it. It's a fake phone call. You made it up. No, it can't be real. There's no standard with these people because they just want to believe it. Candace Owens, who speaks in the third person and in the plural, tweeted, the shooting Tim Pool survived in December of 2022 was committed by his brother, by the way. His brother was the one who fired the weapon on his property. He cannot deny this fact. Let me just make this very, very clear. I have never claimed to have survived a shooting that took place on my property where my brother fired, implying he fired upon me. Why is Candace framing it this way? Because she knows the actual story was that I tweeted out.
Why are you talking like this? Be a person who speaks like a person. I actually agree probably that I'm sure whatever, someone intruded his house and staff shot at him, and then she's wording it weirdly to make it seem like he's lying, and maybe he's lying about this shooting. I played like a little cute with it initially. I played a little cute, as Trump would say, where some of Tim's response was just bizarre, but I believe him. The shooting happened and it's very scary. It's very serious. And then the December of 2022 one I know nothing about, but maybe Candace is once again asking questions to assert something that's silly. But man, Tim, you're so hard to like. I just can't do it. You're talking like you're performing in Broadway. Then you have Candace saying the very obvious thing going on here is that Tim has been trying to sell his business and is in financial trouble. He's now effectively trying out to be another unhinged Zionist influencer. Someone please just do the deal with him. That was in response to Tim Pool saying, why does Candace refer to herself in the third person and or plural? She always says we and us. And then at one point I saw Tim say that he heard from an exorcist that demons speak in the we and us terminology. So maybe she's a demon and she, believes in other people are being demons, and they're just all demons, a bunch of demons going at each other, scratching Tucker. It's getting out of hand. But yeah, I don't know if he's trying to sell his business. I do think he's under financial pressure. He's saying it's because of needing so much security because of the violence. I do think when the Russian money dried up, it made it kind of tough for him to continue running the business the way that he did. But that's your update on what's going on with that infighting.